Hi everyone, my name is Sara, and I'm here today to talk about the limits of reason. And we're going to approach this as a mathematical problem. So I studied mathematics in my bachelor's, and I wanted to study maths because I thought that mathematics was certain. And my thinking went something like this. So in mathematics we have theorems, right? And theorems have proofs. And proofs follow some sort of like logical steps, and based on that, I can know with certainty whether something is true or false, right? Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So luckily, in the early 1900s, some mathematicians decided to tackle these very questions about the foundation of mathematics. And so, in reality, they set out with like a big aim. So they wanted to find a formal system, which is essentially like a set of logical rules and axioms from which all of the mathematical truths could finally be proven. And at the time, this seemed like entirely reasonable, but it was until Kurt Gödel arrived. And Kurt Gödel in 1831, he proved what is called the Gödel's Incompleteness theorem. And so basically what he set out to explain is that maths is not as certain and is not as complete as we might think. And I have only 5 minutes, but I'll try to give you a high-level idea of what he did. So his first brilliant step was to basically describe everything formally. And what I mean by that is that he managed to get sentences, like statements, and translate them into numbers. So for example, in his encoding, 2 + 2 = 4 could be a number, which here is like 6, 5 something. And the same statements are not only mathematical statements, but he manages to create statements about maths as well, so meta-mathematical statements, we call them. And so you can also encode those as numbers. So for example, if you say 2 + 2 = 4 is provable, that can also be mapped to a number. And here, I would like you to pause and pay attention to the fact that at this point, we not only have statements, but we have statements within statements. And it's this form of recursion and self-referentiality that is at the heart of Gödel's proof. And so here, at a very high level, I'm going to try to translate into words what Gödel managed to do formally through maths. And so he managed to encode this statement, G, that says, the fact that G is provable in a formal system is not provable in my formal system. And then we can ask, is G provable? And at this point, you can see how the self-referentiality is brought to an extreme, and, well, my head is kind of exploding. So I don't blame you if yours is as well. But I'd like to bring it back to a plane that is a bit more intuitive and explain that, actually, what Gödel managed to do formally through maths is the equivalent of this statement. This sentence is false. And so if we think about it, and if the sentence is really false, then if it's saying it's false, it must be true, right? But then if it's true, at that point, it has to be false as well. So what happens here is that we have some sort of infinite loop where this sentence seems to be neither true nor false. And this is, in a nutshell, what Gödel managed to do with his incompleteness theorem. And so he managed to prove that in any formal system, so in any mathematical system, there are always statements that are neither provable nor disprovable. And if you let this sink in, it's quite like a big statement that undermines the whole fundamentals of what we think of as mathematics, right? But he not only does that, he's able to extend it to a second theorem, which says that no formal system can actually prove its own consistency. And so with these two theorems, what Gödel manages to do is essentially killing the search for a consistent and complete mathematical system. And he managed to do so even more brilliantly by using the formalism, by destroying formalism, using the tools of formalism itself. So he uses mathematical tools to destroy mathematics itself. And this leaves us with a big question, which is, what does incompleteness imply? We don't really know that at this stage, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to give this talk, because I think we should ask this question more, and we should think about this more. We often live under the illusion that maths and science are so certain and perfect, but maybe if we invite more paradox, there could be openings to new things. And here I actually use a photo of a monk, and you might wonder why. And this is because in Zen, actually, paradox is an opening into spiritual awakenings. And so this is actually, we're taking this question, like we're wondering about it at Holistic AI as well, with my colleagues. Emery's down there, like a wave, and Giulio. So yeah, like let's see where that brings us.